All right, there we are live on YouTube. Welcome to ACIM Essays with Robert and Sharon.
Thank you. Good morning, Sharon. As soon as I get this up, can you start with the introduction?
Yes,
Thanks, Sharon. My
yes.
voice is going more and more every day.
I'll take care of it. I can talk. Well, I'm going to do it now. Okay. I am here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent Him who sent me. I do not know, wait, I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me. I will be healed as He I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal.
I'm sorry. Well, it's bouncing around on me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and maybe you can make it a little bit bigger. I think that might be a little bit of the issue.
It is an issue, yeah.
Hard to see. There, that's way better. Way better. All right.
Well, he has to bring it up further because I don't see much here. My okay.
Okay, I'm something's going wrong here. Just
Robert wants to know who was here this morning. This will determine if this is an encore presentation or a new
yeah,
one.
we're not going to do that. I'm trying to eliminate that. Um, Let me just jump down here. Oh, you can read this for me. Yeah.
Okay. Someone once said the best way to make God laugh is to make plans. Each week, I make tentative plans for what I want to share. That never happens. Something always changes at the last minute, or inspiration wakes me up at 3 a.m. and a new route to be assigned is assigned. Today is one of those days. There is a single word from an animated feature that describes almost every one of my days: squirrel. I am working on another novel, and I will share some tidbits today.
Okay,
If you read,
that's good for now. Um, what we you want to just share what we did this morning? Just a quick overview.
Okay, well, we started with a prologue, which is an entry into this new book that Robert has been working with. And then we covered two of the uh, chapters. And it was interesting, I think, for all of us. And a couple of people were there this morning that will be there this afternoon as well. But we're going to use two different chapters this afternoon than this morning. And the two that we're going to be using are from the beginning part of the book, and will give perhaps a better idea of how the book is beginning to evolve.
So with that, uh, I'm going to bring up chapter 1, and since oh, you think we should do the prologue again?
I think it helps a little bit to give
Okay.
what we're talking about.
Cherie is suggesting that even though we did it this morning, that and Rafi is the only one I think is a repeat. Linda, were you here this morning?
I believe she was.
Okay, well, if you don't mind,
Then we can leave
all right,
that.
we'll skip it. We're just going to jump into chapter 1 because I think we're going to do a lot more talking today. So I'm going to bring it up on the screen. And Sharon, do you want to read chapter 1 when it comes up?
yeah, I can read it.
Okay, that'd be great.
All right, here I go. Chapter 1. Nothing I see means what I think it means. The first thing the typewriter ever offered was not an answer. It was a loosening. I remember waiting for something decisive, something that would clarify the confusion I felt, but could not name. What arrived instead felt about almost dismissive in its simplicity, as if whatever was speaking had no interest in solving my problems, only in softening my grip on them. I had spent years assuming that what I saw was what was there. Not because I had examined the idea, but because it had never occurred to me that it could be otherwise. The world appeared solid, obvious, and largely uncooperative. People were who they were. Events meant what they meant. My reaction seemed justified, even inevitable. The typewriter did not challenge any of that directly, it simply waited. When it finally began, the words did not come with an emphasis on urgency. They arrived without the argument, almost casually, as if this was something I already knew and had merely forgotten. Nothing I see means what I think it means. At first, I read the sentence as an accusation. It felt like being told I was wrong without being told why. My mind immediately began to defend itself. Surely some things meant exactly what I thought they meant. Pain meant pain. Loss meant loss. Betrayal meant betrayal. A closed door was a closed door. Wait, where did I? Okay. The typewriter did not respond to my objections. It did not clarify. It did not elaborate. It simply repeated itself in silence. I began to notice how quickly I rushed to meaning, how automatic it was. A glance became a judgment, a tone became an intention, a memory became a prediction. I did not wait to see. I named, labeled, concluded. What settled me was not the possibility that I was mistaken. It was the realization that I had never paused long enough to find out. The sentence did not ask me to deny what I saw. It did not ask me to reinterpret it. It asked something quieter and more difficult, to admit that I did not actually know what anything was for. The admission felt like standing without armor. There is a strange comfort in certainty, even when it hurts. Certainty gives pain a shape. It tells us who is responsible. It gives us something to push against. Letting go of meaning, even temporarily, felt like stepping into open space with nothing to hold. I noticed how often my thoughts began with "this means" and ended up with tension. I noticed how rarely they ended with peace. Wow. The typewriter did not suggest replacing my interpretations with better ones. It did not offer new meanings. It simply exposed how tightly I was holding the old ones. Nothing I see means what I think it means. Slowly, the sentence stopped feeling like a threat. It began to feel like permission. If what I saw did not mean what I thought it meant, then perhaps I was not required to respond the way I always had. Perhaps my reactions were not mandates. Perhaps there was room between perception and response that I had never allowed myself to notice. This was not comforting at first, it was disorienting. The world felt less stable when its meanings loosened. But something else appeared in that instability, a quiet sense of relief. I did not have to solve anything yet. I did not have to decide who was right. I did not have to protect a story. I could simply notice that my intentions were present without assuming they were true. The typewriter remained silent for a long time after that. I wanted more. I wanted explanations, reassurance, a framework I could trust. None came. What stayed with me instead was a small pause that began to insert itself in my days, a moment where certainty hesitated, a moment where I realized I was about to conclude something without knowing why. In those moments, the world did not fall apart. Nothing collapsed. No great truth revealed itself, but the tension softened slightly as if something had been set down rather than carried. I began to see how much effort went into maintaining meaning, how exhausting it was to constantly confirm what I already believed, how little space that left for anything new. The sentence did not tell me what to see. It did not tell me how to see. It only loosened that claim that I already knew. Nothing I see means what I think it means. I stopped trying to understand the sentence and started letting it work. Not as a belief, but as a question I did not need to answer. What if this moment was not what I thought it was? What if this person was not what I had decided? What if this feeling did not require justification? These questions did not produce insight, they produced quiet. And in that quiet, something began to rest that had been straining for a long time. The typewriter did not return that day or the next. When it did not build on the sentence, it moved elsewhere, as if trusting that this opening had done its work. Looking back, I see now that nothing else could have come first. Believe before forgiveness, before understanding, before peace, there had to be a willingness to admit that I did not know what I was seeing. Not as a failure, as a beginning. You have to move up or something.
I forgot I muted myself. All right, that's chapter one. Obviously, that's number one in the workbook. I'm assuming everybody recognized it right away. What was interesting is this morning we got a lot of thoughts and feedback. Well, thoughts anyway. Would anybody like to comment on what we've said so far? And Rafi, I know even though you had a lot to say this morning, you're welcome to chime in again today, as always. Sharon, you got a hot mic. Go ahead.
Okay, well, at first I thought, it was fabulous because, what we think is there, these objects are not really there. We're imagining all of it. So in your, you know, article, it just seemed as though you were leading us into the fact that we don't know a thing. The only thing that we believe in is our interpretations, and they are made up strictly by the mind. And the mind is not real. The mind's just looking to keep us distracted so we don't leave, the ego, and we don't see that we've never been the ego. So the way you wrote this, it just leaves me curious to see what's next. And now Rafi wants to go, so I'm going to have him share.
Oh, okay. Okay. In releasing, there are 9 questions, and the ninth question is, could I let go of being so smart and allow it to be other than I think it is? And that falls in line exactly with this stuff. So you can see we're all on the same page. It's just like it's the saying, we're all walking each other home. It's yeah, it's the synchronicity is obvious.
Well, there's something else too that I don't know if I really got a chance to point out this morning, that this book is a reflection on the first 50 chapters in the workbook, but not directly from A Course in Miracles. It's a way that people can read it, look at it, think about it, without thinking they're having something spiritual jammed down their throat. This is not preaching, it's a conversation. It's one man's experience with new ideas. And that's what I think is going to make this book unique. So anyway, would anybody else like to comment before we look at another chapter in the book and or workbook? Okay, with no hands raised, I'm sorry, Sharon, did you want to say something?
Well, do you have chapter 2?
No, I have them, but we're going to jump around. We're going to jump to chapter 5 if that's okay.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. Take me a second. And Sharon, you want to read this one? Okay. She's got her own copy, so I'm just going to roll it as we go.
All right, chapter 5. I am never upset for the reason I think. He noticed the upset before he noticed the thought. It arrived as a tightening, a subtle contraction in the chest, barely dramatic enough to name. Not anger exactly, not fear, something quieter, more familiar, the kind of discomfort he usually ignored until it hardened into a mood. By the time he sat at the desk, the explanation had already formed. It was because of the email, because of the tone, because of what had not been said, because of what it implied. The typewriter did not respond right away. It waited while he rehearsed the story silently, refining it, polishing it until it sounded reasonable, justified, accurate. Finally, the keys moved. You are never upset for the reason you think. He exhaled through his nose. That's not true, he said. Sometimes the reason is obvious. The typewriter answered calmly. Obvious is not the same as true. He felt the familiar urge to explain himself, to list the facts, to prove the cause and effect chain was airtight. He had already built the case in his head. This happened, he said. Then I felt this. That's the reason. The keys pressed slowly, evenly. That is the story, not the source. He sat still. What's the difference? The reply came with quiet precision. The story points outward. The source points inward. He leaned back, holding his arms. He did not like how accurate that felt. You're saying the email didn't upset me, he said. No, it triggered what was already waiting. That phrase stayed with him. Already waiting. He scanned himself honestly. The tension had not come out of nowhere. It had slipped into a space that was already soft, already exposed. The email had only given it permission. So what was waiting, he asked. The typewriter paused. The silence felt intentional, not evasive. A belief. He frowned. Which one? You know it. You just prefer the story. That stung. He closed his eyes and let the surface explanations fall away. The tone, the timing, the words chosen or not chosen. Beneath all of it was something simpler and older. I'm not valued. I'm being dismissed. I don't matter as much as I thought. The upset had not been caused by the email. The email had merely pointed to a belief he'd been carrying quietly for a long time. His throat tightened. If I didn't believe that, he said slowly, this wouldn't hurt. The keys responded gently. Yes. He opened his eyes. So the upset is information? The typewriter answered without hesitation. Upset is a signal, not a verdict. That changed something. He had always treated upset as something to fix or justify. Either he pushed it away or he defended it. He explained why it made sense, why anyone would feel this way, why it was unavoidable given the circumstances. But if upset was a signal, then it was not condemning him. It was pointing. To what, he asked? To the thought you are protecting. He felt a subtle resistance rise. Protecting? Yes, the one you do not want questioned. He sat quietly, letting that land. He had protected certain thoughts fiercely, thoughts that defined him, thoughts that explained his history, thoughts that made sense of pain he did not want to revisit. They had become part of his identity. To question them felt like betrayal or danger. If I'm not upset for the reason I think, he said, then I've been blaming the wrong things. The typewriter answered simply, always. He let out a short, surprised laugh. That's a bold claim. The keys pressed again. Blame is always convenient and always misplaced. He thought of how much energy he had spent rearranging the world so he would not feel what he was already feeling. Fixing situations, avoiding people, replaying conversations, imagining better outcomes. All of it assumed the source was outside him. All of it kept the belief intact. So what do I do when I'm upset, he asked. The typewriter did not offer a method. It offered a shift. Do not ask what caused this. Ask what am I believing right now? That felt dangerous, honest, simple. And then what? The keys slowed as if choosing each word carefully. Do not attack the belief. Do not defend it. Just see it. He absorbed that. Seeing without attacking, without fixing, without explaining. That sounds uncomfortable. Yes, truth often is at first. He noticed something unexpected. The upset that had brought him to the desk had softened, not disappeared, but loosened. It no longer demanded action. It no longer needed a villain. It was just there, seen. I think I'm afraid, he said quietly, that if I don't blame the world, I'll blame myself. The typewriter answered immediately. There is a third option. He looked up, which is neither. Blame is never required. He sat very still, neither the world nor himself, just a mistaken belief, noticed and no longer fed. That feels lighter, he said, surprised. The keys pressed one final time. Upset ends when its purpose is fulfilled. And what's its purpose? The answer appeared without emphasis, almost tender, to show you where you are still listening to a thought as if it were true. The typewriter went quiet. He did not rush to fill the silence. For the first time, he understood that upset was not the enemy. It was a messenger he had been shooting on sight. He felt another thought rise. This explains so much. He noticed it, and he smiled just slightly as he let that one pass too.
So, uh, would anybody like to comment or make an observation or whatever? Oh, hi, Mickey. Hi, Linda.
Hi. I came in halfway through that piece. I'm sorry I was late. I apologize.
No, that's okay. Sharon, do you want to give I can't talk, so you want to give a thumbnail synopsis of what this is all about?
I kind of got the gist of what it was about, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about observing how I've been observing. You guys know that I've been um, picking up a few kids at the high school recently, and there's traffic coming from two different directions, all trying to get into the entrance of the high school. And usually you're supposed to do it like you do it when a highway goes down from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. You do it like a zipper, one from one lane, one from the other, one from one lane, one from the other. And of course, there's always somebody that needs to edge themselves in, as if to say, I win, you lose. Um, or somebody just can't get it together to turn in, and you're like, oh, for heaven's sake. So it's been a great opportunity just to watch the mind and how much it wants to argue with what is. And it wants to say, that's not right, or that's not fair. And just sitting back and watching without getting all riled up and justifying how ego is feeling it's been so great. We're on break now, so I have a break from having that wonderful opportunity, but I've been so grateful at watching the mind, at watching the mind want to complain, at watching the mind wanting to judge, and sitting there going, that's pretty hysterical. If you just look at what the mind is doing and laugh at it, it shuts down that whole mechanism. Like the typewriter was saying, it's like having that typewriter in your head saying, you can look at this and you can judge
and you can get angry or you can just look at it. And I've been having a really good time. Anyway, I think that's what that was about. I don't know. I could be
You're
told.
close. You're really close. What I'm gonna have Cherie do is just read a little bit from something we did this morning that'll bring you up to speed and kind of reinforces, and then we're gonna open the door from there. So Cherie, you wanna pick up my job?
Yeah, Bob has been working on another novel and was sharing some tidbits today. If you read his book, The Typewriter, you remember that it was about a man who found a typewriter up in his attic and wrote what would become a world famous book. The manuscript, which is what we're reading from today, is Sam's book, dictated entirely by the typewriter. The words are familiar, but the presentation is, well, you get to decide. And what's interesting is that each of these lessons, for those who came in later, is taken from the workbook. The entire novel, as it's written, picks one each of the classes, if you will, in the workbook as a chapter, and is presenting it in a way that is designed not necessarily for members of this group, for members of A Course in Miracles, but for other people who could gain by reading it and beginning to understand in a non religious background, if you will, the thoughts and the ideas that help everybody in this group be able to face life in a much different way. If anyone wants a preview copy of the book when it's finished, and Bob said today he's hoping to have it done in the next couple of weeks, just go to his email, robert@dinojamesbooks.com. This book is not for course students, but to offer the unfamiliar an invitation to its ideas.
Does anybody have any questions or comments at this point? I'm gonna stop the share for a minute. Does that make more sense now, Mickey?
Sure, I want to hear more about it.
Okay. Well, I've got your email, so when it's finished, I'll definitely send you a copy. We've got plenty of time. It's only 4:30. Would anyone like to look at some of the other essays? I could bring that list up here as well, because we do have the time. I would put up another chapter, but it would take me too long to access it and set it up. So let me bring up the share again. And go down to the list of I'm going to go to the bottom of the list. All those are pretty old. So if somebody wants to pick something to listen to, oops, I always do that. I go one line too far. So if anybody sees something they want to listen to or read, let me know and we'll click on it.
How about our holy mind holds the real world?
Holy mind holds real. Okay. You want to read it?
Yeah, I'll read it.
Okay, let me make it a little bigger and easier.
Our whole
Go for it.
Okay. Our holy mind holds the real world. The Course tells us that the world we see with the body's eyes is not the real world. It calls this the world of perception, the projection of fear, guilt, and separation. It is the world we think we live in, but it is not the world our holy mind knows. The real world is a state of recognition, a shift in perception that happens inside us. It is not a new planet or a future heaven. It is the correction of vision. As A Course in Miracle puts it, the real world is the symbol that the dream of sin and guilt is over. That is a powerful statement because it means the real world appears the moment we stop believing in the stories the ego insists are true. We don't create the real world, we uncover it. Such clarity, Robert. It's been held safely in the mind we share with God, waiting for us to choose it instead. Okay, I lost my place. Wait a minute.
Sorry.
The real world, wait a minute. The Course tells us that the world we see with the body's eyes is not the real world. It calls this the, okay, this is, should I start over? Because when you moved it,
No, start with that as a powerful statement.
That is a powerful statement because it means the real world appears the moment we stop believing in the stories the ego insists are true. We don't create the real world, we uncover it. It's been held safely in the mind we share with God, waiting for us to choose it instead of the ego's version of reality. When the Course says ideas leave not their source, it reminds us that the world we see begins in our mind. If our thoughts are fearful, we see a fearful world. If our thoughts are healed, we see a forgiven world. That simple shift is what the Course calls vision. The real world is not physical sight. It's not about mountains, oceans, or sunsets. It's about meaning. It's the inner experience of innocence, safety, gentleness, and unity. We can look at the same street, the same neighbor, the same news headlines, and either feel hopeless or feel calm. The world didn't change, we did. That's why the Course says, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. The Holy Mind already knows how to see everything differently. Our job is to stop blocking that vision. When I first read that the real world is a symbol, I didn't understand. Why a symbol? Why not a place? Over time, it became clearer. A symbol is something that points beyond itself. The real world points us towards heaven, but doesn't claim to be heaven. It's the last gentle step before we wake up from the dream entirely. But inside the dream, it is the closest thing to peace we can experience. It's the reflection of truth. When fear is gone, this reflection shines through, and we feel something familiar and deeply comforting. We sense that we are home even while the body appears to be walking around in the same old environment. That is why the Course emphasizes that salvation is not a future goal. It's a present recognition. The real world is not given to us because we have earned it. It's seen when we stop insisting on the ego's interpretation of events. When we stop telling the mind what happens, what something means. The mind shows us what it actually means. Forgiveness does not fix the world, it unveils the world. We all had moments where real world peeked through, a sudden feeling of joy for someone whose moments earlier annoyed us, a moment of surprising calm when the situation should have produced anxiety. quiet sense of acceptance when the ego wanted to scream. These are not these are not accidents. These are moments of vision, moments when the holy mind is allowed to show us what is actually there. ACIM describes vision as the means by which the Holy Spirit translates your nightmares into happy dreams. The nightmares are not removed, they are reinterpreted. They become harmless because the guilt that made them frightening has been undone. Without guilt, nothing threatens us. This is the state of the real world. Our habit is to look outside ourselves and judge. We see bodies, we assume motives, we defend our options, but the Course teaches that the habit is the single thing blocking our sight. Projection makes perception. And so the world we see is simply the world we insisted on seeing. If we believe attack is real, we see it everywhere. If we believe innocence is real, we will see that instead. The real world is what we see once projection has lifted. This isn't about denial. It's not pretending everything is fine or refusing to notice the problem. Instead, it's recognizing the real cause of what we experience. The Course says the cause is always a thought in the mind, never an event outside it. When we accept that, even quietly, the world begins to soften. I want to read that again. The Course says the cause is always a thought in the mind, never an event outside it. When we accept that, even quietly, the world begins to soften. We start seeing what the Holy Spirit sees, whatever seems to happen in form, the meaning is always the same. God's Son is guiltless. Everything else is a misunderstanding. The ego resists this idea strongly. It insists the real world is naive, unrealistic, or irresponsible. It insists that innocence is weakness, but the ego's interpretation is what keeps us trapped in fear. The real world, by contrast, offers the only place inside the dream where we can rest. It is not naive to see innocence where the ego sees attack. It is sane. It is the decision not to reinforce the dream. I've had experiences where situations look hopeless, and something shifted in me without my trying. Suddenly, I could see it differently. The people involved didn't change, the events didn't change, but in me softened. I stopped defending my position. An opening appeared that wasn't there before. The argument dissolved, the tension disappeared. That was the real world showing itself. The kind of shift doesn't require effort, it requires willingness. The Course says your part is only to offer him a little willingness. That willingness is the invitation. It's the moment we stop insisting on being right. The holy mind does the rest. We don't have to manufacture peace. We simply let go of the thoughts blocking it. One of the clearest descriptions of the real world appears in the workbook. The real world signifies the end of time. That means the real world is timeless, not in the sense that the clock stopped, but in the sense that we stop living in regret or anticipation. The holy mind lives in the present because only the present is real. The ego lives in the past and future because that's where guilt and fear survive. When our mind,
Yeah, hang on. I screwed up. There we go.
that's Okay, when our mind is quiet, it rests in the present, and the present feels safe. That safety is the doorway to the real world. The holy mind is not separate from us, it is us. It is the part of the mind that never left God. It knows only truth, it recognizes only love, and it holds the real world the way a memory holds a melody. Even if we forget the tune, the memory is intact. The Course reassures us that nothing real can be lost. The holy mind simply waits for us to tune in again. This is why the Course says salvation is a collaborative adventure. We cannot see the real world alone because seeing it means recognizing that we are not alone. Vision collapses the idea of separation. When we see our brother as innocent, we see ourselves as innocent. When we forgive, we receive the gift we are giving. The the rest I don't know why I can't say this because I know the word. The reciprocity is the beginning of the real world. We sometimes ask if the real world is always held in my mind, why is it so hard to see? The answer is that the ego is loud, repetitive, and familiar. We've trained ourselves to listen to its voice. It tells us we are victims, that we must defend ourselves, and that other people are obstacles or threats. It interprets everything in terms of attack or loss. When we believe this voice, we see its world. But the holy mind doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It offers gentle correction. It shows us it shows us another way to look at the same situation. When we pause long enough to listen, the difference is unmistakable. The ego reacts, the Holy Spirit responds. The ego divides, the Holy Spirit joins. The ego sees danger, the holy mind sees peace. The real world is the result of choosing the holy mind more often, not perfectly, not constantly, just often enough that the old way of seeing begins to fade. As the Course suggests, this is a very simple learning, perhaps the simplest ever taught. The simplicity is disarming. We expect transformation to be dramatic, but the real world arrives quietly. Forgiveness is the key to this shift. Not forgiveness that said, you really did hurt me, but I will rise above it. The Course calls that forgiveness to destroy. True forgiveness recognizes that nothing real was threatened. It doesn't deny what happened, but denies its power to define us. It sees beyond behavior to the innocence beneath it. That recognition is what reveals the real world. In many ways, the real world is already familiar. It's the place inside us that knows peace without cause. It is the place that feels aligned, steady, and clear. It is the feeling we get when we stop resisting what is. It's the quiet voice that says, everything is all right, even when circumstances look different. That voice is not telling us everything will work out in form. It's telling us that we are safe in God and that nothing outside of us has the power to change that. The Course says the real world is attained simply by the complete forgiveness of the old. The world you see without forgiveness. That means the real world is not a reward. It's the natural result of releasing the past. When the mind is free of grievances, it sees clearly. It recognizes that everything is connected. Everything is harmless, and everything is a call for love or an expression of it. That is the vision of the holy mind. No one can force themselves into the real world. It appears naturally as the mind wakes up from fear. It's like dawn breaking after a long night. You don't make the sunrise, you simply stop trying to hold the darkness in place. The light comes on its own. And that's the heart of the message. The real world is already held safely in our holy mind. We don't create it, we remember it. We experience it when we stop choosing against it. And every moment we choose love over fear, innocence over guilt, unity over separation. The real world becomes a little clearer. If the Course had to summarize the entire idea in one sentence, it might be this: vision is the mean by which the Holy Spirit translates your nightmares into happy dreams. The real world is the state in which the happy dream becomes consistent. Not perfect, but stable enough to recognize that God's love has never left us. The real world is not far away. It is close as our next forgiving thought. It is as close as our next pause before reacting. It's as close as our willingness to see through Christ's vision instead of the body's eyes. The world won't change, but our sight will. And when our sight changes, everything changes. Our holy mind holds the real world. We are learning to let it show us what it sees. So it says comment. I think this was fabulous. You know what I love about your essays? They the clarity that comes through is the same as the Course, but it's simpler to read. You know, it's not. It's beautiful. It gets right to the point. So who else would like to share?
Thank you, Sharon.
You have some music?
Mickey
Yeah,
wants to.
Vicky, go ahead.
Was somebody else talking? Rafi, were you talking?
No,
Oh,
And
okay.
that was me saying, Vicky, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So that example that I gave before, I think is very pertinent to this essay in that we all think the real world should come with trumpets and angels and last forever. And I think in reality, the real world comes peeking through several times a day if you look for it, if you're noticing what's going on, if you relax into something. You know, we get snippets of this constantly. I think that all of us are awake sometimes. You know, we slip back into ego world. I was giving that example the other day. You're either listening to WEGO FM or Holy Spirit FM. And all of those times during the day when we're listening to Holy Spirit FM, we're in the real world and we are awake. You know, that moment when I saw something happening that I normally would say, that's not fair, you're wrong. And I could just sit there and watch the mind spin a little bit and go, whatever. That was the real world. That was being awake. We don't give ourselves enough credit for when these moments of enlightenment happen. We think it should be a big deal. It's not. It's everyday stuff when we just take a breather. Okie dokie. Thanks.
Thank you, Rafi.
yeah. So much of what you said in that is an echo of what I've been reading Robert Adams saying. I mean, it's practically word for word. The thing that keeps coming back to me over and over and over again is that regardless of what my mind is doing, if it's thinking, if it's not thinking, if it's trying to find happiness or it's grieving or it's coming from fear of one of the three lacks: approval, control, or safety, or whatever, doesn't matter. The divine infinite truth is always present and it's always working for in our best interest. Always. It doesn't blink. God's never indifferent. And it's always there. And every time I feel a sense of joy, I realize that that's the truth. Every time I look at somebody and see them as divine love instead of a separate individual, that's the truth. Every time I just I just say to myself, am I peace in this moment? Am I peace right now? Not am I feeling peaceful or acting, am I peace right now? The peace is right there. And there's never a time when it isn't. So I know that I'm always divinely protected, divinely provided for, divinely guided, divinely inspired. That divine presence is what we come from and what we're made of. And again, I'll just repeat it. No matter what seems to be going on in my mind, uh, whether it's full of thoughts, outrage, or "Ooh, I hope the Knicks win tonight," doesn't matter. That presence is the reality, and it's the only reality. And the thoughts can come and go, but they don't have any bearing on it whatsoever. So there's the decision: do I lock into the truth, or do I follow the thoughts? I never identify with the thoughts. As soon as I identify with the thoughts, I'm screwed. I'm caught up in that ego world that it isn't real, isn't true, and isn't what I am at all. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. That was perfect. And the beauty of it is, as we learn, we realize that that choice was always ours to make. And I'm just sad that it took me 80 years to find that out. My time is about up. I just want to share with you, though, that one of the reasons why I'm writing this book and why I was led to write it is because this book may open a door for people that would never ever pick up a book called A Course in Miracles. And because it echoes the first 50 chapters, which are the undoing, I think it's going to be a great idea. But yeah, that's my ego, but I'll get over it. So if anyone wants a copy of the book, a digital copy, a preview, just send me an email. And by the way, when this book comes out, you guys who are going to have digital copies, you go ahead and share them as far and wide as you want. I'm not going to be around to reap the benefit, but the world that remains or seems like it's remaining will be. So share it, share everything, share my essays, share my website. I'll be gone, I won't care. Anybody else before I turn it back to Lynn?
You know, next week, if you can remember this, Robert, The Unreality of Death, that would be interesting to read. You know?
I wrote that? Oh, yeah.
Didn't we
We
read
did
that today? Was
We
that
did
the one?
that this morning.
Oh my God. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Sharon, I'm going to send you a copy of that.
Okay, all right.
That's
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we
funny
don't want
that
to
you
read
brought
it
that
again.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
look at
send.
that. As if I knew, but I was working. So, all right.
Yeah, I'll
Well,
send it. Don't worry about it.
yeah, send it to me because that sounds so interesting. The unreality of, you know, that is really like a topic. I I think that you know it's good to share about that. You know, because there's still belief in my mind that you die. You know, I know that we don't intellectually, and I know it also by experience, but it doesn't stay. So I just think the more that we read this kind of stuff, the more it just feeds our right mind. Just
Well,
to realize that
the
you
thing
don't
is,
die.
Sharon, we won't believe it until we experience it.
Yes, you're right.
That's the way with everything, even in this world.
Yes, Right,
only believe what we've experienced.
right.
Rico, before we go, do you want me to mail you a link to that, the unreality of death also?
Who, me or someone else?
Rico,
Oh, Rico.
Yeah, I'm here.
okay, do me a favor. I'll leave then if you can leave the thing open for a little while, Rico, well, no, just email me, send me your email address.
You want me to put it in the chat or send it to you?
Send it to me, Robert, at DinoJamesBooks.com.
Robert Dino James at what?
Robert at DinoJamesBooks.com. I'll put it in the text.
Yeah, I'm.
I'll
Give
put
me-
it in.
Okay, thanks. That'll save me some typing.
Cause all I'm seeing is books.
Yeah. Guys, thank you for,
Thank
Is
you,
that
Robert.
right?
Thank you, Mickey.
love you all. Oh, let me look. I can't see it.
Well, I'll leave it open for a minute while you do that. Thank you so much, Robert. I'm going to go ahead and close off the YouTube.